Hello, my name is Jenny. I live in London. Today I want to tell you a story about the River Thames, about a beautiful Sunday morning that became something I will never forget, and about the moment I understood that the river does not care about your plans. If this kind of story helps you learn English, please subscribe to this channel. And if this story helps you, please give it a like. It means a lot. And at the end of this episode, I will give you 3 phrases. They are calm, they are important, and I hope you never need to use them. But if you do, you will be glad you know them. Stay until the end. You will want to know them. Now, the story. It was a Sunday morning in October, one of those rare London mornings when the sky is completely clear and the air smells of cold water and autumn leaves. I had no plans, no work, no appointments, just a free morning and a pair of old trainers. I decided to walk along the Thames. I took the Underground to Blackfriars and came up onto the embankment. The river was wide and gray and very still. The tide was low, lower than I had ever seen it. The riverbed was exposed. Dark wet sand and stones and old timber stretching out from the wall. There were steps leading down from the embankment to the foreshore. Old stone steps worn smooth by hundreds of years of feet and water. I looked down at the sand. It looked solid. It looked safe. It looked like an invitation. I went down. The foreshore was extraordinary. Old clay pipes, fragments of pottery, pieces of dark wood from boats that had not sailed for a century. I walked slowly, looking at everything. The city above me, and the river beside me, and the whole quiet, secret world of the riverbed under my feet. I walked further than I intended. I always do. At some point, I noticed that the water seemed closer than before. I looked at the river. The surface was moving differently, not the slow drift I had seen when I came down. Something faster, something purposeful. I thought, I think the tide is coming in. I turned to walk back. The steps I had come down were gone, not gone, underwater. The water had risen quietly and completely while I was looking at old pottery and clay pipes. The steps were under 1/2 meter of moving river water. I looked ahead. The foreshore continued, but narrowing. The water on my right was rising and the stone wall on my left was smooth and vertical and offered nothing to hold. I kept walking, faster now, looking for another set of steps, another way up. The water reached my ankles, cold, immediately and completely cold. I found a set of iron rungs set into the stone wall, old and dark with rust. I grabbed the lowest one and pulled. It held. I put my foot on it and pushed. My foot slipped. The rung was covered in river moss, green and wet and completely without friction. I fell, not far, but far enough. The water was at my waist, cold like I had never felt cold before. Not the cold of a winter morning or a cold shower, a different cold entirely, the cold of a river that does not notice you. I stood up. The current was gentle but present, pulling softly at my legs. I looked up at the embankment above me. There was a man standing at the railing looking down, middle-aged, dark coat. He had seen me fall. I called up to him. I said, "Excuse me, could you help me?" I seemed to be stuck. He leaned over the railing and looked at the water around me and at the wall between us. He said, "Hold on. I'll find someone. I'll be right back." And then he walked away. I watched him go. The river continued to rise. I took out my phone. The screen was black. The water had reached my pocket when I fell. The phone was completely dead. I stood in the Thames with water at my waist and a dead phone in my hand and looked up at the empty railing where the man had been. He had said he would be right back. I waited. The water rose to my hips. I pressed myself against the stone wall and looked along the river for anything. A boat, a person, a ladder. Then I heard it before I saw it. A low, steady engine. And then it appeared around the bend. A large tourist boat, white and wide, moving slowly along the center of the river. People on the upper deck were looking at the city, at the bridges, at the skyline. One of them looked down and saw me. Then another. Then several of them were at the railing pointing, some of them waving. I waved back with both arms. The boat slowed slightly, but it was enormous, far too large to come near the wall. The water between us was deep and moving, and there was nothing the captain could do. The boat moved on. The people on the upper deck were still looking back at me as it went. I watched it go. The water was at my waist, still rising, slower now, but still rising. I thought about the man in the dark coat. I thought about the people on the boat. I thought about my dead phone in my pocket. I thought, I should have checked the tide times. And then I saw it, far along the river, small at first. Two small lights moving fast and low on the water, coming toward me. A rigid inflatable rescue boat, orange and white, moving very quickly. It slowed as it approached, navigating carefully close to the wall. A man in a yellow helmet leaned over the side. He said, "All right, we've got you. Don't move. We're coming to you." They threw a line. I caught it. They pulled the boat alongside the wall, and two of them lifted me over the side. I sat on the floor of the rescue boat, wrapped in a silver foil blanket, shaking in a way I could not control. One of the crew crouched beside me. He said, "You're all right. You're safe. Can you tell me your name?" I said, "Jenny." He said, "Okay, Jenny. Someone called it in for you. You're going to be fine." I looked back along the river as the boat turned. The foreshore was gone entirely. Smooth gray water where the sand had been, as if it had never existed. I thought about the man in the dark coat who had walked away. I thought about the people on the tourist boat who had waved. I never found out which one of them had made the call. Maybe it was him. Maybe it was them. Maybe it was both. I sat on the floor of the rescue boat with the Thames sliding past, and London enormous and indifferent above me. And I thought, someone called. That was enough. On the Thames foreshore, realizing something is wrong, I think the tide is coming in. The steps I had come down were gone. The water was at my waist. The current was gentle, but present, asking for help. "Excuse me, could you help me?" I seemed to be stuck. I waved back with both arms. I caught the line and held on, being rescued. "We've got you. Don't move. You're all right. You're safe. Someone called it in for you. You're going to be fine." Useful vocabulary. Foreshore. Tide. Tide times. Embankment. Riverbed. Iron rungs. River moss. Rigid inflatable rescue boat. Silver foil blanket. To call something in. Indifferent. Friction. The three phrases I promised you. The first phrase, "I think the tide is coming in." This phrase looks simple, but it contains something important. The word think. Jenny does not say the tide is coming in. She says, "I think the tide is coming in." In English, this small word signals uncertainty. It signals that you are noticing something, but you are not yet sure. It is honest. It is natural. And it is exactly what a real person says in the moment before they realize something is wrong. Learning to use think this way makes your English sound much more natural and much more human. The second phrase, "Could you help me? I seem to be stuck." Notice I seem to be stuck. Not I am stuck. Not help me, I am trapped. I seem to be stuck. Even standing in the Thames with water at her waist, Jenny uses seem. This is a deeply British instinct. To understate. to leave a small space of uncertainty, even when the situation is completely clear. This phrase is calm, it is polite, and in a real emergency, it is far more effective than shouting. People respond to calm. The third phrase, I should have checked the tide times. This phrase comes at the end of the story, when everything is over and Jenny is safe, and it is the phrase of someone who has learned something, not with anger, not with drama, simply with honesty. I should have. These three words in English carry the whole weight of a lesson learned. They look back at a mistake without excuses. They are how adults speak when something has gone wrong and they know why. Use this phrase whenever you want to acknowledge a mistake clearly and move forward. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to Jenny's English Stories. And if it helped you, please give it a like. Every week there is a new story. Each story teaches you real English for real life. It is free. It is slow. It is made for you. Thank you for listening. See you in the next story. Keep reading. Keep listening. Keep speaking. Goodbye.